about this? Do you have any concept of the fact that all they've done is replace which group they're against? You know they're going to go back to hating you as soon as they can. God, you've deluded yourself into thinking that it has anything to do with me. It has to do with keeping anybody else out of their segregated sports. God, you're dumb.
But to target me and say that I'm to blame, me and Danielle Smith, for that, that's inciting hate, and that is illegal, and that is criminal harassment. I mean, he's criminally harassed me the whole year, right? But I'll tell you, game on, game on. This will not deter me. This will only make me stronger and louder. And guess what? It makes more and more people fed up with this crap, and more people are going to get louder.
A male-born powerlifter who competes against women has wished a painful death on his loudest critic, April Hutchinson. Ann Andres, the biological male who now competes as a female powerlifter in Calgary, Alberta, Canada, posted a series of ominous and intimidating video rants to his Instagram page, which were accompanied by a long written diatribe directed at Hutchinson, an activist for female-only spaces, a powerlifter herself, and someone who fights for the protection of women's-only sports. Andrews' Instagram post read, "Y'all can probably skip this one. I got pretty angry, but I said things that needed to be said. The same effing arguments against trans inclusion has been used historically against Black inclusion. That effing terrible human being from Ontario," that's Hutchinson, "makes profits off hate. The same effing week a human child is killed for being trans, that self-righteous bitch, sorry for gendered insults, I'm pretty angry right now, goes and talks about how a trans basketball player is hurting women by playing. You don't give an F about women. You care about hate and making a quick buck off of it. You effing sicken me, and you promote this kind of thing. There is no hell, but times like this, I wish there was, so you and Smith can spend eternity suffering." Andrews is ostensibly referring to Alberta Premier Danielle Smith, who brought in a slate of policies earlier this month wherein she outlawed gender transition for children under the age of 16, hormonally speaking, and surgical transition was banned for anybody under the age of 18. She also brought in policies that prevent trans-identified men from playing against women in women's sports. Let's keep going. Andrews continues, "Anyone who supports the Ontario lifter and is just as effed up as she is, spend some time actually thinking about the people around you instead of just yourself. May your generation die painfully and leave the youth to inherit a better world." Now, the post from Andrews included 8 strange videos where Andrews lifts weights and shouts about April Hutchinson, whom he calls an unnamed Ontario lifter. He also talks about the comparison of transgenderism to the treatment of Black people in Oklahoma, and he rambles on about a trans youth he alleges was, quote, beaten to death in an act of schoolyard transphobia. Look at this.
The parallels are amazing that your hero, the one that you choose to stand with in the fight for fairness in sport, you know what she does? She goes out and she decides to take up the mantle of a trans player is hurting NATO people in basketball. On the same week that a minority is killed, that is her thing. And you know what's cool? You know what's really cool about that? The same argument was being used to keep Black people out of sports. Oh, well, they're so much bigger, they're gonna hurt our white people. It's so fucked up that we think that any allowance of journalism to say, yeah, no, it was okay that this child wasn't receiving medical help because the school did everything they could, and maybe it was a pre-existing condition that this child died from, and not being beaten to death by 3 assholes who are probably trained to be a hate by their Christian parents because Jesus loves children, except in America. Hey, unnamed Ontario lifter that I will never name because that would be bullying, because, of course, you think you understand our words and you try to use them against us, but we all see through your bullshit. I'm talking directly to you. There is a reason why CSIS has classified your people, and yeah, I mean your people, as terrorists. And that's because people like you are spreading the kind of bullshit that is getting children killed. You really think that you're just targeting me? You're targeting children who get killed because of the words you say.
It should be noted that Andres is wrong, well, about a lot of things, but about the incident in Oklahoma as well. You see, Oklahoma police and the medical examiner have released a statement that the Owasso, Oklahoma trans teen referenced in Andres' bizarre yelling soliloquy did not die as a result of trauma from some transphobic schoolyard fight. I'm sure you can tell, though, Andres and Hutchinson have a bit of a history. You see, the Canadian Powerlifting Union initially suspended Hutchinson from competition for 2 years after she took to her social media to complain about Andres, who had been mocking the female powerlifters he bested in competition. April's suspension was reduced on appeal to a year. You can learn more about that and support her legal battles at standwithapril.com. Let's hear what April had to say about what Andres had to say about her. Take a listen.
Well, I mean, this is something that I've had to endure since last March, right? This is nothing new. Threats. I mean, he's been doing this through the whole year. It's just that now it's escalated. Now it's getting a little scarier. Scarier is the word. Where he's actually making, basically not death threats, but basically hoping that I have a painful death. And both me and Danielle Smith, actually. So, I mean, they have escalated to the point where, I have had to go to the police in Calgary and file a police report. I am filing one also here in my city because he does have some, friends or followers of his that live in London, Ontario, that have gone after my job, put false claims in.
For me, it's completely unfair just to see how much he's getting away with versus the consequences you've paid for just advocating for fairness.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, as everyone knows, I was banned for 2 years for speaking biological facts. And it's exactly what you said. He thinks he's untouchable, and he has been untouchable because the Federation is too afraid to do anything. They're literally bending over backwards for this unhinged, mentally ill person. Like, you know what I mean? Whereas myself, and I think that's what's the hardest part, is that I feel like I've been punished this whole year just for wanting fairness.
No one would blame you if you walked away from this, but I don't think that's going to happen.
I honestly, it just puts fuel into my fire. It gives me actually even more reason, because now you have a whole bunch of different levels here to this problem, right? You have a man competing in women's sports. You have a man going into the women's locker room. Fair sport is not even a thing now in the Canadian Powerlifting Union for allowing men to come in. But now we have men such as him online gaslighting and saying that it's my fault. I don't know if you saw the one threat. He's now blaming me for the death of that 16-year-old non-binary kid in the States, I guess yesterday. When meanwhile, that kid didn't even die from the altercation. The facts came out after. But to target me and say that I'm to blame, me and Danielle Smith, for that, that's inciting hate. And that is illegal. And that is criminal harassment. I mean, he's criminally harassed me the whole year, right? But I'll tell you, game on, game on. This will not deter me. This will only make me stronger and louder. And guess what? It makes more and more people fed up with this crap, and more people are going to get louder.
Despite all that angry testosterone running around inside Andrew's body, he still trains and competes as a woman. And that makes me worried for women. For Rebel News, I'm Sheila Gunn Reid. If you'd like to show your support for April Hutchinson, consider signing the petition and helping her with her legal fight at standwithapril.com.